3, 2, 1. I'm vengeance. That was a quote from the SpongeBob movie. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks. This is Sardonicast.
I'm Ralph Seppi, the Batman.
Oh.
And I'm Alex from IHE, aka the Riddler. We're doing that now. We're Batman characters now.
We'd have to come
excited because
arrest
Batman's
you,
back.
beat you up.
Oh no!
Throw you in prison.
Don't spoil it. The villains get beat up. I didn't want to know that.
You want to get right into it? There's no news, right?
Da Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, I think.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I like it, man. I'm okay with this. Yeah. I'm okay with this Batman. Obviously, the last kind of 10 years. Yeah, the last 10 years of this character have been kind of up and down, all over the place with your Ben Afflecks and stuff. It's nice to just have a Batman movie where he's a detective again, and it's like very clear influences, and I think the right influences. I think it gets the tone right for the most part. I think visually it stands out compared to some of the previous Batman movies. It's just fairly consistent all the way through. I've got my issues with it. It's not personally my favorite movie with these characters or anything, but I think as far as a Batman movie in 2022, yeah, I'm good with this.
I have my criticisms with it too, but I thought it was great. I really did. I thought it was great. Probably thought it was about as good as the Spider-Man movie.
Which one?
Like, I really enjoyed it. The newest one.
Okay.
No Way Home.
The Spider-Man
Yeah, there's
movie.
a lot. Yeah.
I find it even hard to compare them, yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, like, Batman has a history.
Mm-hmm.
The Batman vs. Superman, the issue wasn't the dark tone, it was the writing.
I completely forgot about those. I was like, what history with Batman? I forgot that there were...
Yeah, like just a few years ago.
I was like, what, The Dark Knight Rises? I forgot that there was something in between.
The Dark Knight Rises
so funny.
too.
Yeah, we had 2 Batman movies previous
That was
to
even
this
better
one.
than Batman vs. Superman, though, and like all that Justice League.
Oh,
yeah,
so
and this is like a bit better than that. And what I like about it is that it's a very entertaining film, but it still has that tone. Like, it's not Marvel fun. It's more subtle and it's darker. Yeah, that tone. And it's still an entertaining film regardless. Like, you don't need to crack jokes every 5 seconds to be considered like an entertaining movie. Like, the pacing is really good, and Batman's just like a fun character that, like, I think a lot of people just want to see. And yeah, I really like Rob Pattinson in this movie. I think the movie just delivered on like everything you kind of want to see in this kind of movie. Like, Batman was great. Like, all the villains you want to see, they're great. Really good action, really good cinematography, really good music for the most part. Yeah, it's just like a really good film, I thought. It's basically everything you're looking for in a superhero action like film like this. It's super entertaining, even though I have my issues with it. Definitely entertaining. I definitely wanted to say that.
What are your issues?
I don't know. It's
I've got a few.
Yeah. Maybe you guys start with that. And
yeah. Are we talking spoilers yet?
Let's do spoilers.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, spoilers from
I
this
haven't
point.
said much at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I wanted to separate this movie from the get-go from the Nolan trilogy, but it's difficult to with how much kind of imagery and similar plot beats almost. That it returns to.
Scenes.
Yeah, just the Riddler. I like what they do with him in terms of it's not really a villain movie the same way like The Dark Knight is almost more about the Joker than like Batman himself. The Riddler's more of like a vehicle in the background just to get things moving, so you can have a really interesting Bruce Wayne story more so and explore like the corruption of the whole city as opposed to just this one character. But when you do have these interrogation scenes, which you can't not contrast it with the one from The Dark Knight, you can't not draw the comparisons with some of those links, and this Riddler almost seems like something like a Nolan decision. Like, so you could imagine this Riddler
there are weird
existing in his.
Yeah,
you could, like the whole like Zodiac
Riddler and Joker
inspiration
are very
in him.
similar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was one thing I was just like kind of getting held up on in terms of I just want it to find its own footing, and it is leaning into this isn't really a supernatural leaning Batman with the killer crocs and the kind of goofier stuff, and the fancy.
Yeah,
it's
it's kind of David Finchery.
So, or like a noir. Yeah.
Yeah, much more David Finchery or almost Chinatown-y. I was seeing
Chinatown.
a lot of, which makes sense. I think like the Zodiac 7 Chinatown, kind of using that as like a foundation for the story is a really good idea, because Chinatown with a detective character, and it just makes sense and it fleshes out the world pretty good.
What do you think about the length?
Yeah, that was one thing I wasn't fully sold on, because this is a long movie. It's just about 3 hours long. I'm more interested how it holds up on a second viewing, because the very nature of it being kind of a mystery the whole time, I'm intrigued just by the beats of the story and how it's being unveiled. But I don't know how it would flow when already knowing all the answers to everything. So
I'm not going to watch it a second time.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I thought it was fine.
It's quite long.
But in terms of, I think my biggest issues with the film are brought out of just it being so long, because so there, if this film had a bit more variety in terms of like what experiences it was offering, then I would love a 3-hour movie out of it. But unfortunately, it's very one note. It's offering the same experience over and over again. And if you're just if you love that experience, like there's certain albums that I love, certain artists that I love, where it's like they're playing the same song over and over again, but I love that song. I can understand why someone would like the Batman if they're just coming over what the experience is offering. But for me, even though there's a lot about it that I really loved, it wasn't strong enough to like stretch out over 3 hours. I loved the score. At the beginning of the movie, I loved the score. Hour through the movie, I was like, this is a pretty good score. End of the movie, I fucking hated the score. It's just 2 notes. You can't do that the entire movie. I don't care if you change the instruments. I don't care if you slow it down a little. You're just doing different renditions of the same 2 notes. And it gets irritating by the end of the film for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use the theme over and over.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, I wish you did a couple different...
It is tiring after the 3 hours.
Yeah, fuck.
I kept thinking about Sun Tango. What that was the name of the movie? Sun Tango. You were like how they spammed the theme in that. I'm like, oh, Adam's gonna love this with the fucking constant.
It's the same 2 notes over and over.
Yeah,
and over
they
again.
play it a lot. Yeah, but yeah, I was with you. Like at first, I'm like, yeah, the score is like really good. Like there's some good tracks in it.
I love it.
It's just play that theme. That main theme is like it's too much.
Way too much.
And yeah, like. Compared to like Danny Elfman, Hans Zimmer's scores, I don't know if it's as good as those scores.
Well, I mean, those other scores had like different themes, not just the same theme with a variation.
Yeah, that. But even just Danny Elfman's theme is iconic, and Hans Zimmer's Dark Knight score, like that was so innovative and like even experimental with like how they
it was great.
Did the crescendoing. Yeah, it's like and that's how they did with like all of Nolan's movies. Like the scores for all of his films are great, and there's a lot of behind the scenes about that. But like in this movie, it's the same 2 notes, and it's not like a terrible theme or anything. It's just I don't know if it's going to hold up as well as like those
played
previous,
too often,
which are so iconic. Yeah, Heath Ledger is so great in like The Dark Knight, and there's like so many elements in The Dark Knight that this movie doesn't like. It tries to capture, it just doesn't do as well.
Oh man, yeah.
And I guess we can go into more, but yeah, that was probably my biggest criticism with it. It's like you can't help but compare it to Nolan's films, and yeah, it doesn't compare in certain ways. In some ways, it really is cool, and I like this whole new take on it. That's more like kind of the Arkham games, where they're like, let's just throw in a bunch of villains.
Conceptually, it's great.
Let's have more action. Yeah, like, okay, that's cool. They're going to give, like, Penguin his own show. Like, I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, really?
Like, Colin Farrell.
Really?
I thought he was great, Colin Farrell. I really loved his performance.
Are they going to put him in the same makeup for the show? Where's this? Is it going to be an HBO Max?
Sure. I love the makeup, too. Like, he's basically unrecognizable. And, I loved his performance
he was
in the
a fun
film.
character.
Yeah.
Dane
Don. Not Dane Don. What's his name? Paul Dano.
Thank you. Might as well be in this movie.
He's barely in it, I feel, and that's like a good thing. But when it's also a bad thing because you want to see him more. But I guess that's like in theme with like the Arkham games. That's why I mentioned him. Like Riddler's not really a part of it.
He was so
he's supposed to look like a wimp.
He was like, I'm not just talking about his visual aesthetics.
But that's the point.
Well, yeah, because he's supposed to be an incel.
Yeah.
But I swear the movie was trying to imply some sort of like fear there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to just be laughing at that scene, right? I swear the movie is trying to imply some level of like tension or fear. Or like, ooh, he's so creepy and weird and scary. I think it was trying to go for kind of a jokery thing in that sense of like, ooh, he's crazy.
Yeah.
But it was just so cringe.
Definitely.
When he started singing Ave Maria in falsetto, oh, over. I was like, what the fuck? Is this a comedy now? Like, I don't know. People were saying there were no jokes in the film. They might not have seen that scene.
The Dark Knight, that scene is like really great. The interrogation with the Joker, like he's beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, God,
where are they? Like he's fucking beating
that was like genuinely an awful scene.
Oh, the escalation of the way it builds.
No other scene in the movie was genuinely awful. That was a genuinely awful scene.
Yeah, I'm with you. It didn't fully work.
Yeah, and in the Dark Knight, there's the music, the crescendoing music. It's incredible, and the lighting and everything. They're even setting up like the broken glass for when Joker escapes later. Sorry for spoiling the Dark Knight. It's about a decade old.
We're fine on that one. Don't worry about it.
No one gives a shit at this point. Yeah. It just doesn't really compare. Another scene I want to compare. There's like this scene where Riddler's like, I guess it's like a found footage scene where he's like holding a guy hostage. That's like the exact same scene from the Dark Knight. Except in the Dark Knight, that scene is much better. Yeah, and like Cam mentioned that, like a friend of mine mentioned that. He's just like, constant like the references to the Dark Knight, they're just not as good. Like that scene especially.
In the Dark Knight,
that scene was not as the sound in the Dark Knight made it like really good. I guess the sound of him holding the camera.
The sound choices also, because they removed the score at that point. So there's specific points in the Dark Knight where they removed the score. Most notably during the car chase scene, and I'm pretty sure they either removed the score or they kept it very subtle for the first part where Heath Ledger's like, and now people will die, or whatever. Like, I remember there being a lot more impact to that scene, and I don't think they were playing a whole bunch of like spoopy music the entire time. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they didn't. In this film, I noticed a lot of just like, the score just kind of there for, like it feels less raw and it feels less real. And especially when we're getting to like the car chase scene, I'm like, man, if you just cut out the score here and then vamped up like the sound design elements of the vehicles and made it more like sure, there's a bunch of films that have done it at this point, but then
it would just be a copy of the Dark Knight.
Yeah, and that's kind of
then it
like
would just be the Dark Knight again with like that car chase.
Right?
They were trying to avoid that again.
Are they
everything you're
the
saying
film
that car chase in the Dark Knight
doing
has that? Yeah, like that's a great scene.
Like they have to tiptoe around doing things that the Dark Knight has done, so they have to kind of do it different.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
It's just kind of worse.
That's really what drags it.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, I did think the action was good in the movie for the most part. Surprisingly restrained, using lighting a lot, like explosions and the light from gunfire and whatnot. Creative choices, like the upside down shot and stuff, cool in the car chase.
The action as a whole, it's probably
the fist fighting stuff. Much better than like Batman Begins. That's one of the weaker things in that movie. It's
one of the worst things about that movie is the action.
Yeah.
Even some of the action scenes in Dark Knight Rises, like the handheld fight sequences.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Rises, there's like a similar scene where it's lit by muzzle flashes and they're shooting at Batman. That scene is so silly.
You bring up Dark Knight Rises, and that's a good like contrast point, because it always bothered me that in the final moments of that movie where Batman's just standing in the broad daylight of the streets and he just looks goofy as hell. Whereas in this movie, he's hidden in the darkness in the way he should be. Like that. Yeah. It's like the whole design of the character. He's like ridiculous. It was a problem in Justice League too, where you see him just standing in like an open field and with like the sun shining on him, and it doesn't work. It's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Here he's completely dark. Yeah, I love the look of the movie.
I think visually it's just fantastic. That's probably my favorite part.
Like that car chase scene, I think has a lot of great shots in it. I mean.
Yeah,
even without the music
on the cars.
Yeah, like that shot when like the Penguin's car flips over as it's attached to like Batman's Batmobile. Like that shot is fucking sick. Like it is so many great just shots and choices. Yeah, like the way it's lit with fire and it's just the choice to make it dark, like very dark cinematography. But I guess it fits the film better than Suicide Squad.
Yeah, it's appropriate. They actually use it to pull off some cool ideas, some creative ideas.
Yeah, it was definitely done better in this film as well.
Yeah, no question, no doubt about that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I still think The Dark Knight's better. Maybe I don't remember much about Batman Begins. I'll have to revisit it to know
the Dark Knight is definitely better. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a better film. I thought this was very entertaining. Yeah, this is super entertaining blockbuster, but. Yeah, The Dark Knight is like a masterpiece. Like they're not even close in my mind.
So,
Yeah,
am I wrong in saying that like if you removed Catwoman from the story, then nothing would change except for like she saves him at the end in a convenient moment? Like she didn't really do anything.
There's the whole reveal with her being like the Falcone daughter.
That was a little I guess what's the word I'm looking for? Like melodramatic or
Cliched.
Yeah, a little cliched.
I don't know. She didn't really add much to the movie. For
yeah,
me.
or like in the final action sequence where it's like really clearly set up that Batman's in a jam. Who's going to save it?
Yeah,
Catwoman's
I'm going to slowly move my
shot.
shotgun up to your face at this moment instead of just killing you.
Yeah.
Like, okay. All right. Whatever. I've never really connected with a Matt Reeves film, but this is my favorite out of everything he's made. It had enough elements in it where I'm like, okay, this I can really say is really great. I can really say I loved certain things about this movie, even if I didn't connect with the entire experience as a whole. What do you guys think of Matt Reeves' other films?
Yeah, I'm okay with him. I don't have the problem you do with the Apes movies quite as much. They are kind of like effects vehicles for the most part, but I think they're fine. I think they got some good moments, I guess.
This is his best film, too, I think.
Yeah,
I think everyone can agree pretty much.
I think this is his best film.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes, yeah, they're fine. I don't find them that particularly engaging. I like Cloverfield a lot. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, Cloverfield's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's funny, like he messes up that found footage scene, like this movie. Should have been an expert on it, but whatever. Yeah, it's definitely, I think it's his best film, just because it's Batman. Very entertaining. Yeah, it's just they didn't have to play that theme over and over. We're comparing it to Zodiac. I guess Zodiac. Yeah, Fincher.
Yeah, Seven. Yeah.
Those films are rated R. This movie really could have been rated R. I felt there's like key scenes when he's like in a morgue, like, and they're not showing a body he's looking at. I'm like, okay, and that's such a big part of the Arkham games. Arkham Knight is rated M, by the way, and Batman's doing autopsies on bodies and things like that. And like, if you're going to compare the film to Seven, you might as well go all the way with the R rating, right? But Batman, at the end of the day, like, I was at Walmart and they're selling like toys of Batman, so it's like, okay, so they're trying to appeal to kids on some level because that Batman has always appealed to kids. They have cartoons.
It's funny though, like imagining like a 9-year-old watching this movie.
Yeah, but they probably are. Yeah, like I think I saw some kids in there with like families or whatever. Like, really? It's Batman, like. So at the end of the day, they have to like tone it down a little bit, but it kind of takes away from the movie. It's like, yeah, like if this was a Fincher movie, like Batman would be like doing all kinds of sick shit, but it doesn't like ruin the film. I feel like even Dark Knight on that level, like it's PG-13, but it feels a little more mature than this does, and there's some like really shocking moments in the Dark Knight as well. The bombing of the butler Alfred in this film, like it has no consequence ultimately. Like he gets bombed and then. It's just like he's in the hospital, like, oh, okay, he's not dead, and he'll probably be back in the next film when they make it. And in the Dark Knight, when Rachel's bombed, like she's fucking dead, and it's like horrifying, that scene, like, and it has like consequence. Like it's really smart that they wrote that character in, like, so they could kill her. Like she's not that important. Like she's not like Two-Face or anything. But like, and it's just in this film, it's like we need something here, but we can't like kill. Like this important character in the first fucking movie, so it's not gonna have like any consequence. Like, and there's a few things like that. It's just like, okay, so at the end of the day, like everyone's in jail, so they can make more movies with them, and like they just want to keep everything going. And I just can't help but compare it to the Dark Knight. It's
impossible not to.
And it's so recent.
I was not a big fan of Andy Serkis in this movie. He was kind of distracting for me.
I like Michael Caine much more.
Oh, of course.
I thought Michael Caine was great.
Yeah, I prefer Michael Caine.
Yeah. But even without comparing it to Michael Caine, Andy Serkis was a moment of like, oh, I see the actor and not the character.
I feel like he's barely in it. There's a lot of things going on in this film.
He's barely in it, but
there's the voice or lack of development, or
Yeah. It's like an obligatory character that they threw in, sort of thing. Like, oh, here he is. I also felt like they were a bit manipulative and dishonest with the editing in the bomb scene, and I didn't really see a good reason for that to happen other than just being manipulative, where they implied that it had happened like earlier or that it didn't happen yet, It's like, oh, this happened earlier. Like, oh, that's like a Saw 4 editing twist,
Yeah, there's some editing moments that took me out of it. Sound editing moments, particularly. Like, I can't point to any, like, exactly, but there's, like, some moments where like the music would cut out. It was just kind of corny and like little things like that.
I thought that Nirvana song was a great addition to the film. I thought that it perfectly encapsulated the tone that they were going for. I thought that it complemented like the style of the Batman and like the type of story that they were trying to tell. And I think that it was used appropriately or near the beginning and then at the end. I thought that was like a perfect addition to the film.
The way it's edited, it's like Batman's actually listening to it, right?
Yeah.
On his radio, which is cool. Like he's actually listening to this
diegetic.
Song. It says a lot about his character. Yeah, it's diegetic, yeah. It says a lot about his character.
Yeah, wasn't that Pattinson's like inspiration for his Bruce Wayne was Cobain, so
Bruce Cobain.
Yeah. Pattinson's really good. Like he's very pale because he doesn't go out. Like you can tell he's really fucked up, like in the head. Like it's a very
he's disturbed.
He's getting toxoplasmosis from all the bat poop or some shit.
The guano in the eyes. Yeah,
and like that was the strongest part of the story. Is like being in Batman's shoes and understanding like seeing these like shocking moments play out with him. And it's like seeing his reaction. Like that was usually the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and him like finding out how his family's involved in this scam or whatever. Yeah.
What'd you guys think of Gordon in the film?
No complaints, no issues.
Great. Yeah,
I thought he was good. Yeah,
adds a really fun dynamic.
One of the strongest parts. I like that they put him in the movie a lot. Like there's a lot of scenes with Gordon and Batman, which I think is very strong.
It was a good dynamic. It was a good character to have.
That felt like a fresh take that actually worked. Like, I Gary Oldman's great in Dark Knight, but this was, I would say, it's significantly different and like better.
It helps it become more of a detective story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we criticize Catwoman. I'd say Zoe Kravitz is better than Catwoman in
of course.
Oh yeah,
we give a shit about her.
I liked her a bit better. I even just aside from the writing of the character, I just like the look of Zoe Kravitz like a bit more.
Yeah,
she's like a bit tinier, like more flexible. Like I think that's better for it. Like I think that's like she's a really good Catwoman. I think.
Here's an issue I had that I'm curious to get your perspectives on. So I like that in concept they made a detective film. I like that it's like, the mystery, and then you solve the clue, and then it leads you to the next thing. I do not care for how the clues were figured out, because it seemed like several times, almost every time there was some sort of major discovery, it's because they couldn't figure it out, and then Batman just happens to have a conversation with someone at the exact moment where he needs to figure it out. Like, what was it? The first one was like the Penguin saying like, "What are you talking about? That's this." Blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, I just needed to talk to the Penguin, and then he's like going through the crime scene, and the guy's like, "Oh, the carpet thing. I'm a carpet cleaner." Blah blah blah. It's like I don't feel a sense of like reward, or like it feels like kind of almost like a weird cop out that everything's just like, oh, here's the answer. I just happen to be next to the person who could help me find the answer at this moment. Like, I wish he could have figured things out in a better way. It seems awfully silly and convenient to have everything resolved like that.
Yeah, there definitely are a few of those, like the carpenter cousin one or whatever, like you said.
I would rather have the character figure it out instead. Like I think that a eureka moment doesn't necessarily have to be explained by somebody else who knows more about it than him. Like, I don't know. It's weird how film decides how things need to be communicated for the audience. Like the more extreme example of this is like in Birdemic, they have to show the character getting gas. It's like, oh, people will wonder how he got from point A to... Like, you don't need to show the character filling up to get gas. People can infer that he got gas, right? They can imagine that the car is filled with gas in the same way where it's like, do we need a micro explanation for every single like eureka moment, or can a character at any point ever just go like, oh wait, I just remembered what it. Oh, I know what this is. Actually, I don't know why I didn't think of that before. I don't know. It's interesting to me at least.
Yeah, it's kind of the tropes that come along with this kind of mystery story, huh? With just the way they decided to structure it. How did you guys feel about the way it kind of builds up towards that third act involving the seawall explosion with the vans and kind of using his influencer following to get the live shooters and that whole
that was in the trailer,
stadium.
So that was going to happen.
Yeah, Incel army.
Yeah, that was kind of silly. That's when the movie got very silly. the incel army, right? And there's like, he has 300 subscribers on whatever fake site they come up with, like that he's communicating with his followers. And yeah, it's
he's streaming live on yourmoviesucks.org.
Yeah, I thought more people would follow him, considering like what he's doing, like killing people. It's like it's only like 100 people or whatever.
Yeah.
I get what they're saying. It's like a bit topical of a thing. There's like pockets of online extremism and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not really.
We also have to like,
given the tone of the movie, it doesn't really fit. It's like too over the top and
almost kind of too on the nose.
Yeah, there's not all this shoehorned in like social commentary and like Seven. I don't think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I
think
it's
like
difficult.
the social commentary angle works better in like a Marvel movie because it's a little more campy and over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's more of a comedy. So they have to put something in there, like some empowering message. And this is trying to go for something more serious, like.
Yeah,
and it's funny. I was seeing Ben Shapiro like hates this movie. Like, I was trying to think like, why does he hate it? Like, what's wrong? And there's all this talk.
Catwoman
like,
said, "White
Batman,
privilege
you're white privileged or whatever." Like they call Batman privileged or whatever. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's probably
they're talking about the corrupt, people in the
it's
government.
about corrupt police. Yeah, like the Gotham police force was like super corrupt, and that's one of like the more awesome parts of the movie. I thought was like the corrupt police force, like the scene of him escaping the police station, like that was super intense, and I really love the way that film is shot. That scene is shot anyway. And yeah, like Ben Shapiro, he's just like hates the whole privilege angle. Like, so the movie's terrible. Like it's like completely like black and white. Like there's so many great aspects to this movie. Like even if the commentary is like really like not subtle at all.
Well, because the way it feeds back into the main character is what makes it work for me. Is that vengeance line where it's like spun back on him, and it's kind of saying like, we can use fear too. Like it's not just something you can harness. I think that's a cool idea.
I don't know. Yeah, I also don't consider the commentary to be like the core of the film. Yeah.
No. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely key scenes where like trying to like hammer in something.
All right. We got 2 other movies to talk about. We should probably wrap this up. What are your closing thoughts on this?
You don't have any other criticisms?
Yeah, I mean, I loved the first hour of the film. I fucking loved. And then it just kind of fizzled out because it was just a lot more of the same things from the first hour, just stretched out over a longer period of time. I wish that there was a bit more variety in the tones and experiences, and especially the score. There's a couple goofy moments. There's the Penguin manages to brake check a gigantic tanker truck with a Maserati, and the truck manages to crash from that. And whatever. That's not physics, but okay. It's a comic book movie, even though it's a more serious one. 6 out of 10. My experience is like, I don't know, closer to a 5, but like I gotta give it some props for the visuals, the look. Like there's things about it that I really love, even if by the end of it I was just upset that my whole day was gone after spending so long in the theater.
Yeah, I feel like I'm right there with you, Adam, like in terms of a lot of my criticisms with it. I definitely liked it more than you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like we're all in agreement with like a lot of what we don't like about it. Not that I don't find it entertaining. Yeah, it's not like the greatest film I've ever seen. It's not nearly as good as The Dark Knight, and you can't help but compare it to that. I don't know. I might like lower it upon like watching it again, but I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 for now because it's super entertaining.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting on too. I do want to watch it again, despite the runtime. Yeah. I was really into the story. I was entertained. I do like this take. I like the design of the suit. I like the production design, the lighting, and everything. And there's definitely the director's really passionate, clearly, about his interpretation, and I can imagine there being better stuff to come in the future. People seem to be liking it too, so it looks likely that it's going to happen. I mean,
yeah, I bet Ben
as far as the score,
see the sequel and he's going to love it.
Yeah, I'm like kind of in between you guys. I'd say it's like a high 7 for me, like a 3.5, maybe going up or down depending on how that second viewing goes when I get around seeing it.
It might go down to a 7. Yeah, it might go down to a 7.
Yeah,
but for now, I leave it at 8. It's not even that much. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I probably won't see this again ever, but I'll watch the sequel and hope that it's like, I don't know, 2.5 hours or shorter, or maybe just more things happen or more experiences. Anyway, All right, it's time for the film recommendation. Alex, why don't you say the things about the movie?
Introduce your film.
So I recommended a very special double bill of they're not officially linked in any way, but they're definitely thematically linked. And if we're talking plots, they're extremely similar. But I chose The Last Temptation of Christ from 1988, Martin Scorsese movie, and The Passion of the Christ, 2004, the Mel Gibson movie. We're going to start in chronological order with the 88 Last Temptation of Christ, led by Willem Dafoe. I mean, as far as a plot synopsis is concerned, I think the majority of people know the story, the sacrifice of Jesus. But what makes it interesting in this version of these two movies we're talking about is kind of that angle Scorsese took with it, and exploring the various temptations that Christ goes through in the 3-hour-long epic, going through Jesus' different strifes with trying to solve conflicts with love, with hate, with and ultimately with sacrifice.
With his crucifixion.
It's perhaps the most humanizing portrayal of Jesus, which I'd imagine some religious people might not like, because you want to separate the God from the human sort of thing. That
another thing,
some people.
that links these two movies is the controversy side. These two extremely controversial movies. They're both in the
completely different reasons.
Lists of them, for completely different reasons.
Sure.
But the ones, the response to The Last Temptation of Christ was extreme, to the point where there was even a terrorist attack in France linked to it. Yeah, it's crazy. I was reading about it on the Wikipedia. The controversy, the 88 attack on St. Michael's Cinema in Paris. A Catholic group set fire to the St. Michael's Cinema in Paris while it was showing the film. A little after midnight, an incendiary device ignited under a seat in the less supervised underground room where a different film was being shown. The device consisted of a charge of yada yada yada. The attack injured 13 people, 4 of whom were severely burned and severely damaged the cinema.
Jesus.
And that's alongside like a bunch of death threats and protests.
Wow. Protests.
It's funny to think about, because this is 88.
That's what I read about. I didn't hear about the bombing, but there's all kinds of protests. Like, the movie was supposed to be made years before, but they somehow managed to get it canceled because they were sending letters to the studio.
That's crazy to me. I mean, obviously, but sometimes I try to like even attempt to rationalize something like that. I'm like, well, how can you be mad at the movie with like you would theoretically have to like watch the film to be that upset about its content, right? Or like you would have to acknowledge that maybe there are other people that are doing that for that reason. You would have to imagine that like not everyone in the theater is being like, I want to see Jesus depicted in this way, but they might just be curious about it and watching it to like make up their own minds about it, right? Like how could you burn down a theater of people like for seeing what it is, like as if that's a sin?
They're just like angry on principle, which is especially interesting considering the opening text, the movie, the message that it opens with saying this film is not based upon the Gospels but upon the fictional exploration of the eternal spiritual conflict.
Gospels are non-fiction.
Sure.
They're going out of their way to kind of preface and explain that we're not trying to do a beat for beat exact retelling of the Bible right now. We're trying to explore the artistic side of what we can kind of get out of like debating the theology and exploring the actual cinematic side of it.
What I read about before was like the filming itself, like how much of a grueling kind of shoot it was to make the movie, and they kind of did like a minimalist approach with the whole thing because they had very limited time and money and resources. There was a lot of improvisation. And it seemed like a grueling shoot. Like even just from watching the movie, like the locations they were filming in, it seemed like, like a lot of huts. It seemed like a lot of practical lighting, a lot of outdoor scenes. It looks like
it looked hot,
like fire and things like that. Yeah, it looked hot. Like either they're in the desert, they're fucking sweaty. Like Willem Dafoe's like, carrying the cross, and it's like a really grueling like film to make. It's pretty long. But yeah, I've seen it before. I really liked watching it again, and yeah, I feel like I got a lot out of it.
I didn't
Watching
feel
it
the
this
length
time.
too much.
And yeah, no, not really.
Yeah,
And
I thought
it's
it was
not
really
so
well
like
paced.
that's what I like about Scorsese in general. Like as a director, I love him because his movies they're not so dry. Like this movie has like violence and it has blood and like really shocking moments and it has nudity. Like you don't feel like you're watching like a movie made for like a Bible school or something. Like it's really like
yeah. His style
grotesque.
does a really good
His
job
style,
of carrying
it
that
is like
side of it.
Goodfellas or something like that. Yeah, like it carries over like that grotesque violence and that blood, and it's really a visceral film. And I guess that's why so many people were shocked by it when it came out, and it got such like a bad reception from certain people. But um, like it is a really effective film, and it is very engaging, and you can even say like kind of entertaining at times, like. And yeah, that depiction of Jesus, like humanizing, that's a great word for it. Like it is the most humanizing I've seen, and yeah, like I really liked the movie. I got a lot out of it.
Yeah, well, my favorite scenes from the movie are just some of the most simple, where it's just Jesus sitting down with someone, whether it be the Baptist or whoever, and just having a debate, really, just talking about the theology, talking about their politics, talking about their beliefs and the struggles that come from that. It was really reminding me of First Reform, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Which happens to be written by Paul Schrader as well, so there's some connection there.
Exactly, it's Paul Schrader.
I think that makes sense, and it's I just really enjoy exploring it through dialogue, as long as the dialogue is good and engaging and thought-provoking. But I found it to be, especially for the first maybe hour and a half, that was where I was enjoying that side of it the most, before it more kind of one-to-one lines up with the plot of like the Passion of the Christ and the whole sacrifice bit towards the end. Although there is that whole subversion where there's the dream sequence where it's
toward the end, which I wasn't expecting, and that's like the last half hour of the
2001:
film,
A Space
right?
Odyssey
Like
ending.
What you're talking about when he gets crucified and he goes into the like he
it goes on for longer than
and the angel saves him.
Yeah.
That's like his last temptation
like
to like not do the crucifixion.
What he thinks is an angel
somehow saves. But then he ultimately decides to do it because Judas like calls him a coward.
Yeah, his final temptation.
You said that's all you had to do was crucify yourself for your people. Yeah, and like that was very interesting.
It's kind of like contextualizing the sacrifice in like a completely different way, in almost a way where it's like it's more personal towards this Jesus character than it is about humanity, which is a very interesting way to take it, where it's like, oh well, this isn't just like about the sacrifice for humanity. This is literally sacrificing your everything you could be. Like you could be happy and have a family, and this is what would happen. It's almost like this weird sort of like Christmas Carol-y vision into the possibility of the future for him, right? And it's interesting.
It's using
it's interesting when it explores.
Director. Yeah, like it's using like that power of cinema like to its maximum effect to like convey like that feeling.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, humanizing is a great word for it. Like it's about religion, so people are going to have that reaction. But that's why I like religious movies or movies with religious themes that are challenging, like this. Like it does. I think if you actually watch the film, it does make Jesus sympathetic. Like I don't think it's sacrilegious, the way like people were saying back then. Yeah, I think it was completely misinterpreted. I mean, obviously, and if you look from like certain circles, like there are people who love this movie when it came out, like Roger Ebert. Like it did get good reviews from critics. And people like that,
I would say in general, if whether praise or criticism of a film, if it comes purely from motivated religious motivation, if that's your reason why you dislike or enjoy a piece of art, I would say it's not like a really interesting conversation. Like you're kind of you might as well just be like basing it off of your fetish. You might as well just be saying like, oh, this movie is great because it had this weird thing in it that I get a boner for. Like, okay, like other people don't operate on that, so that's not really a substantive.
Scorsese went on to make films, so yeah, he's like, he's doing fine.
Yeah, I think that. So this was based off of a novel, I think.
Yes,
and I think conceptually,
I was reading about
before, he had tried to be getting it made for years, just couldn't.
I think conceptually, it's an interesting way to approach this subject matter because, like, if let's say someone wanted to create a story about these sort of like personal ethical dilemmas and personal struggles of someone who was, even if you made up a character that wasn't Jesus, even if you were to create an entirely new character and be like, okay, this is the son of a god, blah, 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 they have some sort of responsibility to a deity or whatever, that would be so much more information that you'd have to pack in that it would be like, why wouldn't you just use Jesus? You can change the story a bit. You can go off of, your own interpretation of the scripture and change things in ways, and as long as you're honest about it and be like, oh, this is the type of story I wanted to tell, and I was using Jesus as a vehicle to explore these ideas and to explore these emotions, I think that's great. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Like, that was essentially done with like Spencer, right? Like the Princess Diana movie recently is like taking an existing character and then just like kind of, I want to explore these thoughts. I want to explore these potential thoughts that someone who is like this person might be, and I'm using this existing character as to not have to provide the necessary backstory because everybody knows who this is, and you already understand the context of like where the story is starting, so you can just keep going from there and have freedom with whatever story you want to tell. I like it.
How did you guys feel about the creative decision? Seems we're on that. The accents.
Harvey Keitel was so funny.
That was, it took me like 20 odd minutes to get into the movie for that reason.
Because of Harvey Keitel.
Yeah.
I thought Willem Dafoe was good. I thought he was really great.
I love Willem. Harvey Keitel was charming but distracting.
Yeah, so even just his first scene, British, I thought Harvey Keitel. I didn't think he was terrible, but just his first scene was like distracting. It felt like he didn't know like what scene he was in almost.
Hey, Jesus, you talking to me?
Yeah, it seemed like he was out of Pulp Fiction.
It's like a creative decision you gotta get used to. It takes a little second to get used to that, but
sure. It is
ultimately
funny.
Works.
Also, I'd like to point out, like, it is kind of amusing that it may be a product of its time sort of thing, where it's like, you see a white character, they're getting speaking dialogue. Every other character, they have such a mishmash of all these different cultures and races presented in this film, and you're just like, wow, these are just like aesthetic background characters, and that's it. When like realistically, it's like they're kind of banking on people not to be familiar with history, like they're kind of banking on people to be as ignorant about like what things were like back then as I am too. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not a great historian person. I'm not really interested in a lot of those things, but I can tell when something is like, okay, well, it wasn't this is not accurate to what this would be, I don't think,
And it goes kind of abstract enough. It's not going for like just trying to be a one-to-one exact. Yeah. It's like this has to be historically accurate in every way. The enjoyment comes from more the dialogue and the creativity of what's being presented with the it does get wacky at certain points. One of my favorite scenes is in the desert where he draws the circle around himself and has was one of the temptation scenes with the devil like trying to trick him. And
I love that scene though. There's like a lot of crazy stylistic choices. That's why I love Scorsese. Even just the title cards. I wanted to talk about the ending, when Jesus I guess dies and the film like sputters out. Like you see like the film reel sputter out. Like, did you know that was like actually just like they actually just ran out of film like while they were filming?
That's
and
great.
They just like, ended it right there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wait, there is like a message from God right here. How to end it.
Here, this is from an article. They discovered that a camera was faulty only after the film was processed. A result which was that the unintentional whiteout at the very moment Jesus died.
Oh, cool.
According to the director, they were working in a state of urgency. So yeah, like, they just fucking ran out of film at that moment. And they're like, cool. Okay, that's the end of the film. And I'm like, but it's perfect. It works perfectly for the end. Yeah. Like, I love the ending. Like, that's really cool.
Remember the part in the Bible when the snake tells Jesus to look at her tits and then explodes? That was my favorite part.
Yeah, that's always been my favorite.
But that was like shocking. Like, I didn't expect that at all. I was like, what the fuck?
Well,
I literally said, what the fuck?
This is one of those movies where like part of my enjoyment for it is purely just out of the charm of just like this like time capsule sort of film of like, oh, this is silly.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of about it that's like, okay, this is still really well made. Like Willem Dafoe's performance is great, and like just a lot of what it explores thematically, the writing, the pacing. Like I love the soundtrack also. I think the music in this film is dope. I love the soundtrack throughout the entire film. But yeah, there's certain like goofy kind of like 80s 90s isms in this movie that I find charming, and I'm like, there's like an ironic enjoyment sort of sense to it.
David Bowie shows up.
Oh yeah, for a little bit. Yeah, he does. He was in a lot.
Yeah, because the Romans are like British. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Man,
the movie was kind of experimental with the casting. I think that's why I didn't mind Harvey Keitel so much. It was kind of like everybody.
They make it work.
It works fine. Yeah.
So I was raised in a religious household. I don't think my parents are really much anymore. But when I was younger, it was like very much like kind of like, oh, this is like what you do sort of thing. Like you go to church. I went through the whole like Bible confirmation, Bible studies shit. I went on like youth retreats. Like it was a whole thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm like well versed in it.
Damn.
And it's I find it like really interesting. So whenever I watch a film like this, because of that context and because of that experience, whenever I'm like brought back into like a sort of like, oh yeah, this is kind of like I'm reminded of like aspects of religion. It's always so retrospectively eye-opening to me in ways because, you know, like there just certain lines in this film where it is pretty accurate to what represents a lot of organized religion. Yeah, you know what? Do you want to know who my God is? Fear. Things like that. There's a lot of...
that was a great monologue.
There's a lot of repeated enforcement, not just by this film, but by organized religion in general, of like kind of like idolizing the idea of subservience in a way. I remember I had to it was like I had stopped going to church for a while and I was like already kind of like done with the idea of religion, and then it was one of those like, oh, but we're gonna do the church thing on Christmas because it's Christmas. It's like, okay. And so I went back to did Christmas thing at the church, and I'm reading along to like these hymns that everyone is seeing. And a lot of like, if you really break down like the individual words that are being said, where it's like, I will worship you, I am not worthy sort of thing. And I'm having this weird moment where I'm like, man, it was so normal just to say all those things. And especially when you're younger and you're growing up, like when you're like too young, when you're saying the words before you understand them, it becomes normalized to the point where you never understand them because it's just something you've always been doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're separated from that, when you like recontextualize it and you're like, oh, wow, like this is what I was saying the entire time. It becomes like one of those weird sort of eye-opening moments. So yeah, watching religious content has always had like a very personal experience attached to it. Especially, I'll stop rambling about this in a second, but I don't know. My experiences with religion, like I remember when I was convinced, when I still believed in God and I was discovering that I was like gay, I remember just like being in absolute torment of just like God hates me sort of thing, which was probably not healthy to experience at like 13 or whatever.
That sucks.
But yeah, it's like it's so bizarre and crazy to me, just that this exists and it's like normalized. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beyond normalized, it's just our immediate history. It's just how we are. Yeah.
It's a surprisingly fun movie.
Yeah, it's
surprisingly.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, it's not dry, it's not boring. It has a lot of fun parts. Like when the lady explodes, like her voice gets deep and explodes. Like that's great. I love that part. I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Yeah. It's a small moment of the movie. I was like, I have to write that down.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I don't feel you have to strictly interpret the movie as like a religious film. Or
I was saying context. It reminded me of those elements.
I'm just saying. I have my own experience with religion too. And yet going to like, not really Sunday school, but I did like a kind of like a religion school during the week kind of thing, weekly, but you know, nothing crazy. And so yeah, I was definitely familiar with like the Bible story and like the story of Jesus. I was thinking if I needed to do any like research into like the Bible before like talking about the movie, but like the story, it's pretty straightforward. Like the story of Jesus, like it's pretty much the most like basic story. Like everyone knows it. I think at this point, like there's nothing.
Yeah,
there was nothing
it's hard
for me
not to just absorb it through osmosis.
Yeah, like it was just absorbing the movie. And
it's
yeah, it
just
takes
Star
like its
Wars
own approach with it. It really takes its own approach with it. Like that's what's interesting. It just kind of tells its own story and it does its own thing.
It's just the Matrix.
And yeah, you could just take it as like about a guy, like, obviously there's some sense of like spirituality, even if you don't believe in God. Like everyone has some sense of like coming to terms with their spirituality or coming to terms with like their peace, right? Inner peace. So that's why people meditate or do other things aside from praying or things of that
fear.
sort. And so you could definitely take the film that way as like, a man coming to terms with these choices, and you don't have to believe in God. You can just see like these hallucinations as just him hallucinating, or of that sort. It really
it's a vehicle to explore other concepts.
It's very open to interpretation, and and it more embraces like filmmaking, and it uses it to maximize like that emotion that you get out of it. And, like Scorsese's
and it's
a great
like intellectually stimulating in different ways as it goes on, depending on where you are in the movie.
It's stimulating in like a lot of ways. Yeah, it's like emotionally, like it's very engaging. Yeah, even for a film that is, it's a pretty old film. It's from the 80s, and it's still like a very entertaining film. I thought like, there's parts of it that are dated, but I really enjoyed watching it again because I'd seen it before. Yeah, it's a good religion movie, which there's not a lot of.
I was Googling, like trying to refresh my memory what other types of religious movies
they're usually
are there.
Too blatant, or like they hammer in the God message too much.
Well, they're usually made for different reasons, right?
Yeah,
they're not usually
this movie's far more open-ended.
Yeah, these concepts.
I mean, this is written by Paul Schrader as well, like Taxi Driver, and like you mentioned, it's a little more it's challenging in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to be challenged. Yeah, it's not like a bad thing.
I guess that about wraps it up. We should move on to The Passion. Last Temptation of Christ, very goofy, silly film, but also very effective at what it tries to do. So I love it despite its flaws. 7 out of 10 from me. I will definitely see it again. It was great. I loved it. I think it stands out a bit in Martin Scorsese's catalog. It feels different.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would know unique. It's a Martin Scorsese film.
All of his movies are good, though.
That information beforehand.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's so stylized. Like I just love so much of like the visuals of the movie. Like that really
his energy that he brings.
That. Yeah, it was a very visually interesting movie, and I love the shots he chose and the lighting and. Yeah, like the minimalist approach actually worked for it just fine, and reading about that production, like how grueling it was, and it's I would give it an 8 out of 10. That would be my rating for it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I was surprised by how much I got out of this because
same.
I didn't really have any background in. I wasn't really raised religious in any way. My parents kind of cut that off. Their like Catholic upbringing or whatever. So it is interesting getting all our different perspectives from that end, but despite that length, despite, already thinking the story, thinking what is there to really explore here? Well, actually, there's a shit ton to explore. There's a lot of thought-provoking stuff that is played around within the movie, and it just stays entertaining throughout the entire running time, which is quite an achievement. And that low budget, the experimental style, I really enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's time, for the other one.
The Passion is what people call it.
Oh, is that what it's shortened to? Is that the shorthand?
Apparently, a lot of people call it The Passion.
The Passion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is great.
Fast forward, a couple decades, get to 2004. Mel Gibson makes The Passion of the Christ, a 2-hour-long movie about the last 10 hours or so, 12 hours of Jesus. So it's just the last bit. It's kind of like Southland Tales. It starts like at the end, or like randomly like towards the end.
It is like Southland Tales.
You mentioned Southland Tales. What'd you think of it, Alex?
This one's a big no from me. I was just questioning the entire time, like, what am I supposed to really get out of this beyond? Yeah, it's excruciating, and that's the point, and it's about that final sacrifice and really like hammering home that idea. But in a vacuum, it's kind of like what you're saying earlier, Adam, where it feels like you've kind of already got to be attached to the story in some way, and you know, like Jesus in this, he's like inherently sympathetic just because he's like pure innocence just being tortured. Like
it doesn't really earn anything for the character within the context of the film. You already have to have you have to have an attachment.
It stays kind of one note.
On the audience's knowledge, which is, I guess, fair, because I guess who hasn't heard of Jesus, right? I guess it's making that assumption.
Some really strange creative decisions in regards to kind of like trying to show off the less literal side of things. If they're trying to show like kind of demonic imagery, it's much clearer in The Last Temptation, like where that line is, like when they want you to interpret something, when they trust the audience to interpret something as being non-literal. It's a bit more like, that reads more like a horror movie, or like you're using like kind of bad horror movie like tricks and techniques and like weird like in the torture scene with the CG instruments. I know there's like some background reasoning as to why they started using like CG effects for the gore and whatnot, but it doesn't look great, the end result. By the end, it's arduous, and I just did not have a good time. Because it has one of those reputations. It's one of those movies where that's all I'd ever heard about it, was that it's just like 2 hours of torture, and I think it is like 15-20 minutes, you know, before Jesus is captured.
You could probably like do a fan edit where you have like Tobin Bell voicing over top.
Yeah, the whole point is to be,
you put the Saw theme over it.
It is amusing because like as a person that I had seen this movie before when I was younger, and I found it kind of amusing that like this was it is one of many exceptions that religious people make in terms of like the type of content they find to be appropriate for children. This was a movie that a lot of Christians showed their kids. And I mean, you could make the same argument for the Bible. You know, a lot of the books that Christians try to ban are not as explicit as the Bible, right? So there's a lot of fucked up shit in there if you haven't read it. Just gonna say. Ezekiel 23:20. A very interesting Bible verse. Yeah, it's this is the type of movie where I'm like, you'd have to be insane to decide to do this conceptually. I'm like, what is the point of this? Like Mel Gibson, like what?
Yes.
I want to make a Jesus torture porn film. And it's crazy that it worked and that it somehow fed into the target demographic because of what it was.
So well.
And that's so bizarre to me. Because like on any other day, conservative Christian America would not be willing to watch a gore film or a subtitled film. But Mel Gibson got them to watch both in one movie, and it was overwhelmingly
what's so interesting
successful.
about it.
And he didn't even want the subtitles originally.
That's what's so interesting about the film, though. Like that it has all those elements, and that it was such a mainstream success, despite that it's just like a torture film and it's like foreign. Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's the only subtitled film that some of these people.
I feel like I've just heard so much about this movie before even seeing it. And like I would just watch it for the first time. Yeah, it's one of those, right? Like this movie, it just has such a reputation before even seeing it for me that I found it distracting. You know, like the movie's directed by Mel Brooks. Mel Gibson. That would be a very different movie. Like History of the World. Mel Gibson, like
young Frankenchrist.
I don't really give a shit about him. Like it doesn't affect the quality of his films or his directing talent or whatever. Like he directed Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge is good. I like that movie. Andrew Garfield, Hugo Weaving. Like I like that movie just fine. Like
it's fine.
But this is I have nothing against like Mel Gibson or whatever. It's just the movies like it's just violent with nothing under it. Like there's no substance. There's nothing going on in this movie.
And the violence doesn't even show up until like 45 minutes through. The first 45 minutes are like so boring.
It's all about like Judas betraying him, and it was interesting watching both of these, Alex. Like you can see which parts of the movie were, or of which parts of the Bible were adapted, like literally. Like there's certain things that were taken, like
the same
that
beats.
are in both films. So you're like, oh, that must be taken from both from the Bible, obviously, because it's in both movies, right? Like I was thinking, like when Judas betrays them and the guy gets his ear cut off and Jesus puts it back, like that's in both films. The exact
it was so
same
gory
thing,
in this
right?
one.
Like, yeah, but it's literally like that must be like a direct adaptation because it's in both, and there's like a lot of moments like that. But in Scorsese's movie, it isn't so hollow. Like it doesn't have anything going on outside like the violence in this movie. Like I don't mind blood or whatever. It's just there's nothing going on with the torture. I thought it was like well done technically, I guess, in some parts, but like
it was kind of like
there's nothing going on. Yeah, it's just like torture porn.
it felt like the movie was just trying to like rub your nose in it, like look what he sacrificed for you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like
look what he did for you. Yeah. Look how he tortured himself for you.
Cry
yeah, look
for Jesus.
Yeah. And that's supposed to like
quite manipulative.
Wasn't really
that's supposed to make you.
It wasn't really a movie where you empathize with like ideas or anything.
Yeah, it's a brutal story. Yeah,
like scare people
Scorsese
into it.
Explored it much better. Like Scorsese's the whole movie isn't the torture. It's like the ending.
It has impact because you have all of that
torture
build
of
up
the
and
Christ.
all the development and
right. Like the betrayal actually means something in that one. And here it's just like it happens right at the beginning because they're like, oh, that stuff's boring. You don't want to see that. You want to get to the part where Jesus is,
you're also getting like a range of different emotions, a range of different ideas.
It's like brutal.
Like the structure, they do have flashbacks. That's the only thing that really breaks up the torture is the odd kind of flashback. But to be honest, barely like minutes long before they go straight back to the torture.
There's so many
torture
flashbacks.
is at the top of the hierarchy. Yeah.
It's very it's like a Saw film. It's a bunch of flashbacks, a bunch of torture. I wonder how Jim Caviezel's, or however you say his name, how his audition tape went. Gael and I were thinking about that. Like, did he just show up and was like, oh? Mel Gibson's like, you're hired. Because that's what he did the entire movie. Just had his face
I was reading
open,
apparently he was warned like by his agent or whatever, or by Mel Gibson, that he'd struggle to get jobs afterwards because of taking the role in this movie, because of the controversy of it and just everything surrounding it. And it's proven to be the case. I think ever since playing Jesus, he's struggled. I think the last time I heard of him,
huge before that point though.
No, but it's funny how like he kind of talks about it as if it was like his holy kind of oath. He was chosen to play Christ in the Passion of the Christ. So yeah,
he did it out of his obligation.
The last I read about him was this weird independent article where he was doing this speech from Braveheart to like this QAnon like conference or something.
Oh, interesting. I haven't really been keeping up with him.
Jesus.
Yeah, I'd recommend looking that up. It's pretty funny.
Okay.
Oh boy.
So what's interesting is on both his and Mel Gibson's IMDb, there's like a sequel listed. I don't know if this is real.
Wait, really?
We'll have to fact check this, but it's called The Passion of the Christ Resurrection as the subtitle. A sequel to The Passion of the Christ focuses on events that occurred 3 days between the crucifixion and resurrection, when Jesus Christ descended to Abraham's bosom to preach and resurrect Old Testament saints. It's listed. I don't know if I'll have to look it up. Let's look it up right now. The Passion of the Christ Resurrection.
So they have the resurrection in there, though, don't they? That's how it ends, on like the happy note, because they can have all the torture but still have a. Don't worry, it's okay because he comes
after
back.
3 days he rises. Yeah, they show that. Yeah, like it had to end on that note. That was pretty corny too. Like another corny note.
It's a thing that apparently is happening, and Jim Caviezel says it will be the biggest film in world history. Is the quote. Which is great. This is okay. I'm excited.
When was this like addressed? So
that quote is an article on movieweb.com from September 22nd, 2020. There's
cool. So COVID might have delayed it. But...
it seems like it might happen. You never know. Things get canceled, but like it's looking like there's some recent news about like it's not canceled sort of thing. It's like a thing that might happen.
It's just banking on the torture aspect, though, so I don't even know what they do. This movie's just torture.
Yeah, what would they do? Flashbacks to the torture?
Roger Ebert gave 4 stars to Last Temptation. He also gave 4 stars to this. And when reading his review,
Oh boy. Yeah.
he was actually he talked a lot about kind of like, okay, well, what is the intention of the film? He said that this film is not it's not really trying to be like a deeper exploration of like themes and like humanization and blah 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 blah. He's just saying like, yeah, if it's trying to be just this
Video games aren't art.
torturous sort of thing on this one event. He said it was the most violent film he'd ever seen. And that kind of got me to think about like, yeah, for its time, like a major R-rated film, like this would have been NC-17 if it wasn't religious, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For a major film like that to show up in theaters and do this, like this would have been really shocking for the time.
Yeah.
So I can understand that aspect of it is like, okay, well, I'm seeing something that's a bit different. However, I'm still hung up on like the first 45 minutes because it does get better when the torture happens because it's like, oh, okay, this is at least kind of funny, you know, like it's like a Saw movie, you know, like there's some entertaining elements there,
it is like
but I
Saw
can't
movie.
forget about the first 45 minutes where nothing
that
happens.
stuff is really dull.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, right?
Did you
Also,
get the
you might
devil imagery. The devil imagery kept popping up. It was
very
so,
effeminate
like,
man.
That was pretty
Those
bad.
are scary.
And like, what was the thing with him like holding the devil baby or her?
That's like
him.
the babies are supposed to be like demons, which are supposed to be like manifestation of guilt or something.
You're like, what the fuck was that?
Okay.
That was so
Yeah.
dumb. Yeah.
So I can understand that making sense on paper or whatever. You're like trying to
It was
convert
weird.
these kind of abstract ideas, but yeah,
some
in
of the shit
execution
just
is a bit
doesn't
like
translate it. Yeah.
and like the slow mo as well, and like apparently they shot like a bunch of the film at like a higher frame rate than 24 to try and give it this like ethereal, slow mo effect. But
it was a very
Zack
cinematography.
Snydery.
It was super stylized. I guess cinematography. Like the look of the movie had a very certain kind of color to it. The way they graded it is very tinted orange, especially in the flashbacks. It was like really orange.
Yeah, this was nominated for 3 Oscars, one of them being cinematography, the other one being makeup, and the other one being score.
I guess
makeup,
it's not the
I
worst
get
looking movie I've seen.
I get it for makeup.
Yeah, I get makeup.
Score was kind of bland. I loved the score in the end credits. That was the best part of the score. I was like, fuck, okay, this... great music at the end credits. The rest of it was like super fucking bland and just what you'd expect, like, you know, copy paste. And then the cinematography, I'm like, it was a lot of close shots. Like every single time that they're in a location, I have no grasp of what the location is like.
Too many.
And it's not like a Safdie film or anything. Like I don't think that it was like some sort of like intentional claustrophobia. You know, we got a couple of wide shots near the end. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong about this, but like, fuck, I never got a sense for like the location, whether it was outside or inside. I mean, I knew if it was outside or inside, but I never got. I'm like, what the hell? What room are they in? Like, it could never feel anything. It was just a lot of the
like
same
a Saw
shot
film.
over and over.
The way it was shot. It seemed like they were
Yeah.
going for a sense of like realism with the way those scenes were shot. Like they were trying to like make it seem really grounded and. I guess it's a more like historically accurate movie in certain ways.
All around.
Yeah,
I've seen people
but
compliment the lighting.
Temptation's better.
And
I
I mean, like, for the most part, it was fine. I wasn't a big fan of the whole like blue filter lighting in the night scenes, though.
I didn't see it in a theater. I just watched it on my TV. So yeah, I don't know. I got a good TV though. I didn't think the film didn't look terrible.
Yeah,
it didn't really
fine.
stand out
it's just
to me.
Like, it's just not that engaging.
It's weird that it's Oscar nominated.
In terms of visually, it just didn't really stand out to me. Yeah, it was a lot of close-ups. Yeah, I'm like just the gore.
Way too many close shots.
Just close-ups on face-ups. Yeah, face shots. I mean, yeah, close-ups.
Guess who loved this movie?
I don't know.
Ooh,
Christians. The Pope.
Yeah, Christians.
Armand White.
Jesus.
Armand White loved this movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
He has a review titled I Heart the Passion. I'm going to read a little snippet from this. As for The Passion of the Christ, having spent the year outnumbered, because it means no mainstream publication will hire a Christian movie critic, and I'm not talking about me, I have found the discussion too oppressively lopsided, if not totalitarian. I can only discuss this movie on home turf. And that enrages me because I have not read a single mainstream review that sought to appreciate Gibson's basic, powerful imagery on his own terms. Does atheism rule? Does blindness rule criticism? To have this movie reviewed only by non-believers and half-thinkers is tantamount to fascism. Quote, Armand White.
He loves this loaded language, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he barely talks about the movie. Just at the end, he's like, "Oh, I liked the cinematography and lighting."
You had to throw in fascism in there.
It's kind of weird. It's a crazy thing to say. It's pretty fucking insane thing to say.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah, it's just. It just seems like a bizarre place to even start the story. It's like, to me, something like Mother, you know, that's like a interesting cinematic way to explore like religious themes, but you're doing it in a way that isn't just like a one-to-one, like 12 hours of torture. I feel like there's just inherently less to say, less going on. It's not enough. It's 2 hours. Like in the 2 hours of runtime, like where can you like pinpoint specific scenes and whatnot? After that first like 40 minutes, once it begins, like what even distinguishes one torture scene from the next, apart from like the escalation? And you already know what like happens. Obviously, like you know the story. It's not like there's a question mark. Like
spoiler warning.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it gets better as it goes along. And this is like one of those examples. I think that there's a lot of films where they have a strong ending and that influences people's perception of the entire film. I think people have very short-term memory problems and they don't remember that the first however many minutes of the movie also was in the movie. Yeah, a strong ending can like really make or break.
So did you like the ending here with the teardrop and the earthquake?
I mean, I thought the music near the end was like so good that like it actually helped the experience a lot. We got some wide shots near the end too. That was crazy. I was like, if the whole movie was like the ending, then it wouldn't be as bad for it. Still wouldn't be great. It still wouldn't offer as much substantively for me as The Last Temptation. But like, for my experience, I experienced like a major improvement in terms of what I was watching, I guess.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't particularly find it boring, not even as like as excruciating as you found it for that first part. Maybe the first 10 minutes. After that, like they're like punching him, they're attacking him. It's just watching a guy get like beaten up for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Man, if I made a movie where Jesus was getting beat up, people would be mad at me.
Well, yeah, but where does the controversy lean more for this one then? I guess the violence,
because it was gory.
The unfiltering violence, yeah.
Also, like, what do you know about the controversy? Like, it's controversial, but I don't think it was, from what I understand about this movie, like, Christians liked this one a lot more than they liked The Last Temptation because Jesus didn't think about sex or something. Mm. So
this one made a lot more money than Last Temptation.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. This was a hit. It was a huge film.
Very has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes, Passion of the Christ. So yeah, I'd say it's very mixed in terms of the critical reception.
Yeah, but it was a big movie.
More so than Last Temptation. Last Temptation's very well received from critics.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but I think maybe more people have seen Passion of the Christ. Maybe that's why.
It has a dedicated like controversies section.
It has a high IMDb score, but like so does Batman. Like the IMDb scores are completely obligatory. I think Love on a Leash has a higher score.
It is like a perfect representation of like the American brand of not only religion but like everything, where it's just hyper sensationalized. You know, that's really what it is. You're taking this biblical story and you're making the most sensationalized version you possibly could, and people fucking love it, right? Like, you got to know who your audience is.
Where all the imagery speaks for itself, basically. Yeah, you barely even need dialogue.
Remember when we were watching like American cable? It's like that.
There's not a lot to say about it. It's just like you said, it's a guy getting fucking tortured. Yeah, some of the torture scenes were well done, I thought.
Yeah, some of the effects were well done, for sure.
Yeah.
There was like a nice, like, I don't know, like, sometimes it blended really well with the makeup, where between like visual effect and makeup sort of thing. It was like, Yeah, it worked well for certain things, but man, just the cinematography was like notably bad for me, and it got an Oscar nom for it, and I was confused. All right, 3 out of 10. It was very boring. It could have been a 2, but the ending was a bit better.
Yeah, this is I guess 4 out of 10 for me, a 2-star. It was weirdly entertaining despite the 2-hour runtime, but that doesn't make it like a good movie in my eyes. It's just Jesus being tortured. It's the story you already know, and I mean, if that's interesting to you, then that's what you get. Yeah, it's just what it says on the tin and nothing much more.
I have no idea what to rate this. It's just fucking torture.
Come on, assign a number.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Somehow less torture than Going Overboard.
Yeah, I'd rather watch this than Going
true.
Overboard. That's true.
Me
yeah.
as well.
Any day of the week, yeah. I'd watch this twice before I'd watch that.
I'll say
again.
the same as you, Alex. Let's say 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Mel.
All right, time for questions.
Okay, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. If you need your own for us to answer.
Always asking questions. Sorry.
You can sing this us into the questions. That's fine. That's cool.
Yeah. Maybe I will.
Leave your own there on the suggestion thread. There'll be a thread there. It's all good. My invisible erection is going to get us started here. Gosh,
the way you phrase that too.
It's because my eyes were just like they rolled over the word, and I realized I hadn't read the name when I screenshot this, so it just caught me off guard. But anyway, hey dudes, I'm curious what films, if any, have given you some sort of transcendent spiritual experiences. Love all you guys do. Be well. Edit. Since it's got a little interest, I want to recommend the experimental films of Stan Brakhage. That's kind of a different tangent there. Let's go back to the original.
How do you spell that last name? Stan who?
Brakhage.
Oh, okay. Obvious answer for me is The Holy Mountain. That's a very spiritual experience movie. It's my favorite movie.
Last Temptation of Christ is very spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what the fuck? So this guy makes a bunch of short films, whoever is being recommended the comment. Why don't you, whoever wrote that, all of these have like less than 50 ratings on IMDb also. What the fuck?
Would you want me to read the rest of what he said there?
What?
Because it was a little bit, maybe it gives some context as to why he mentioned this. So he says, Stan Brakhage has made a wide variety of unique and unparalleled films over his lifetime, many of which are on YouTube and some only a few minutes. View on the biggest TV you own in the dark, open your mind and heart and see if you get something profound from it. Again, much love, Adam, Alex, and Ralph. You guys have provided countless hours of joy in my life.
Go back on Reddit and tell us if there's like an order or where we should start, because there's so many of these that I'm down to watch a few of these for sure. Maybe I'll just see the top ones on YouTube, but yeah. Holy Mountain, that's my spiritual go-to, I guess. I think everyone should see The Holy Mountain.
Yeah, I'd say Stalker. I'd say there's definitely a lot of spiritual stuff going on there. In terms of how it connected with me anyway. Let's do this one then. From AV Center Staff Member 2. How's it going, fellas? In the past few weeks, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding two shows. Pam and Tommy, the show about Pamela Anderson's sex tape, and Winning Time, Adam McKay's new LA Lakers biopic miniseries. The controversy mainly stems from the fact that the showrunners were given little to no consent for their retellings of the events that transpired, with Pamela Anderson and Magic Johnson, respectively, both condemning the shows. So my question is, how should these retellings of true stories be handled, and how unethical is it for a studio or showrunner to greenlight someone's story, even if the only supposed reason is that they may uncover facts that may not be flattering to the real people in question? Thanks, guys, and keep up the good work.
I'm not a big fan of Adam McKay. Yeah. So I haven't even heard of this show, but I saw the Don't Look Up, which obviously I didn't really enjoy that much. It's getting a lot of attention just because of who's involved, and I'm not a big fan of Anchorman. Really, I mean, it's fine. I really like Big Short. That's basically it. Like, that's the only movie I really like from him, basically. And yeah, I haven't even heard of this, but as far as like covering anything based on a true story, like Pain and Gain's like another one I think of. That I don't know if there was a controversy around it.
There was.
I think it was kind of like distasteful.
They apparently idolized the person in the story that was like the asshole.
It's kind of distasteful.
So
they made the people got murdered like it was a comedy.
I used the word apparently because I didn't look into it. Right. So.
Yeah, but it is something like that. I've seen it. Yeah, there's like a scene they kill him, but it's supposed to be like kind of funny, like where they're like disposing of the body anyway. They're like, oh, this really happened or whatever.
Yeah, people were mad at like Quentin Tarantino's depiction of Bruce Lee.
That's true.
Yeah, there's definitely like I feel there's a too soon line that can be crossed, but it's definitely like I'm not gonna say like Titanic is like too soon or The Last Temptation of Christ is too soon. Like there's just there's obviously like a certain amount of time where things like pass or it's like okay fine, but right like the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson, like the Daniel Farron's guy, like I fucking hate his films. Like those films are garbage.
I still need to watch those.
Like Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Yeah,
like Haunting of Sharon Tate. Like it depends on what you do as well. Like I think Tarantino's film is a bit more tasteful. Like people criticize the Bruce Lee interpretation, but you can argue that if it's played for laughs or not. But more so like the Sharon Tate thing. Like it depends on like what you do with it. Like I feel like Sharon Tate was very tasteful in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, not so tasteful in the shitty horror movie that Daniel Farron's made, The Haunting of Sharon Tate.
Exploitative.
It depends what you do, and also like if it's too soon. We don't need like a COVID movie now or whatever.
Too soon.
I think I saw like I think the lowest rated movie on Letterboxd now is some like kind of COVID movie, like a fictional.
Oh yeah, is it?
I have to check.
I think I've watched
by
that.
Virus 2025.
Yeah. It's on YouTube for free.
But apparently, I can't call it bad because I didn't finish it.
That's one you could just watch the trailer.
It's got 1.1.
It depends on the movie.
It really picks up at the 2 hour mark.
Like it's a movie like that. Like it's not gonna get better, right? You're like, oh wait, it gets really good.
I guess to answer this question, I don't know if there is like a real answer for this. There's no solution to this problem because there's going to be issues with it no matter how you do it. Like it can be an issue to consult the people you're making the story about and wait. Like if they have too much control over it, then we get a fucking Bohemian Rhapsody, like
that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's a bad movie.
I don't know if you necessarily should have rights to like an interpretation of events just because you were a part of those events, right? Like legally, that's kind of weird. You could always like I don't know if you wanted to like skirt around it, you could make a story say it's like based off someone's life, but just change the characters' names or something if you really wanted.
Or just lie and do a Fargo.
That's what the Master is. Yeah. The Master is basically L. Ron Hubbard and, all that.
You
but
can still
Scientology,
explore the same ideas in the story. And then I guess like if you're unwilling to do that, then I guess it might come into question like what's the purpose of your story? Is it to explore ideas and themes or is it to capitalize off of like a name recognition?
Yeah. Is it a puff piece or not?
Yeah.
Because that's like what the Bohemian Rhapsody became.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what it was. It was a generic biopic that just like goes through events in his life. I want to recommend that one day, maybe, because I feel like that's a good conversation.
Okay, fine.
That's a good conversation to have. Please no, because it's so fucking bad. Yeah.
Well, I'm just like I categorize movies in my head of I'm done with that, and then sometimes
that's another big Oscar movie. That's another one that got like a lot of Oscar buzz when it came out. I think Rami Malek won Best Actor, Best Editing. Yeah, and then people show that clip from it. Yeah, which is very funny. That's horribly edited. Then like sitting around the table.
Don't Look Up is nominated for editing right now.
That was probably better edited than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Perhaps
it had the most editing, so therefore
exactly. It definitely has the most editing out of any film I've seen.
Don't Look Up definitely had the most editing of any movie I'd seen this year. That's for sure. That is a fact. Is that the question? Did you answer, Alex?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this whole like true story or based on a true story thing to me has never been. I've always taken that entire concept with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
of course, like Hollywood's going to exaggerate.
Like I like when it's a
fiction.
Joke.
Like when I said
like
Fargo,
when they say it's Fargo,
just make it up.
I like that.
Yeah, That's like spinning it on his head, making it part of the story.
Even the most earnest retelling of events that you could possibly make are going to be fictional in some way. Like, you can't, there is no way to accurately represent life. You can only have an interpretation of it.
Yeah, and it's a case of like, usually the most interesting stories are going to be, they're not necessarily going to make whoever's selling the story look good. And if they are, then yeah, it's just going to be some like boring, uninteresting puff piece that is just a Bohemian Rhapsody anyway. So let's do this one. I'm curious about this from the show. Is Adam's boycott of the movie The Hurt Locker still going on?
No, but I do not like Nicolas Chartier, and all of the controversies that once appeared on his Wikipedia page were scrubbed, and you can look at the Wikipedia logs where certain things were removed from, and it was from L.A., which is very suspicious. All of his really shitty things he's done as a producer just managed to disappear from Wikipedia from somebody in L.A. that changed it. Very suspicious. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of exploiting people and blackmailing and shaking them down for money with like a bunch of legal threats, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. He tried to what was the other controversy? He tried to like do some shady shit where he was trying to convince the Oscar voters to vote for his film, and he wound up being banned from the Oscars. Like he wasn't allowed to show up that year because of it, and then like fuck. Yeah, that's my main gripe. I might buy the 4K when it comes out. As much as I don't want to support one person, I also have to remember, like, movies are made by several people. Just because one person's a piece of shit doesn't mean that, you necessarily have to boycott the entire film. And when I was doing that, what was that? 2010?
2008.
How old was I? No, the movie was 2009, but my video was like 2010 or something. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That was like one of the first videos on my channel or something. Like, I don't even sound the same. I don't look the same. Like, yeah, I might buy it on 4K. I like the movie. I really do not like Nicolas Chartier.
Fair enough. Yeah, I rewatched it a couple years ago. It still holds up.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
But this one from Ben Dad Killer. What are your thoughts on the Adult Swim show Smiling Friends by Psychic Pebbles and Michael Cusack?
Oh, it's awesome. It's very good.
It's dope.
Yeah, I love everything I've seen.
I want to be a cameo voice on the show, but
it's They released the whole show right on Adult Swim, but like from the UK accessing it's quite annoying.
Oh yeah,
can you guys just watch it for free, just like on the site?
Nothing's free.
Oh,
but it's on HBO Max right now.
Oh, okay, so it's another one of these situations we just miss out because of HBO.
Yeah, I don't know how you watch it in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the pilot or whatever. I really liked that. I've always been a big fan of Psychic Pebbles.
Yeah, it was dope. In a lot of internet personality cameo appearances, we had Mike from Red Letter Media.
Yeah,
we had David Firth, Shrimpina. Yeah, a bunch of we had Chills saying Burger King foot lettuce. I think Oni might have been in there. Yeah, there was a bunch of
the
great
people
cameos.
were great. Yeah.
And I have friends. I love how successfully the show is doing because I have friends that are not a part of that culture. They don't know that there are cameos in it at all. They're not even aware that there's cameos, but they're still loving the show.
Connecting.
It's like, oh wow, this is like really kind of broken into the mainstream. Like from what I understand, it's like kind of a hit. Like it's showing up like on the front page of the HBO Max thing, and it's got like a good amount of ratings on IMDb. It seems to be like it was greenlit for a second season, so I have to assume it's doing well. But that's
awesome.
dope. That's awesome.
Great.
I'm so happy about that. I love watching people transition from YouTube into more, I guess, traditionally known or traditionally legitimized formats.
Yeah,
because he's been tinkering and he's had a bunch of shows like Hellbenders and whatnot. I was always fans of. Yeah, but this is really, really connected big time. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, this one really works very well. I love the humor. I love the different animation styles. I've never seen the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings, but I really recognize that reference just because of like how well the style was done to like parody that Frodo character and like the way it moved and the huge nose and everything. Just like that. Yeah. I really, really great animation. I loved the stop motion. I love the Halloween episode. I love how much of it is like really morbid and like kind of scary. I think that just adds to like it excitement and absurdity of the show. Yeah, not a bad episode. I'm really excited to see more. At least an 8 out of 10. It might be a 9 at some point, but yeah, fuck, I love it. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, I gave it an 8 too on Letterboxd, I think. Which it's not a miniseries, right? I don't know why it's on there.
Well, it'll probably get removed then.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that's just the short. Yeah, whatever. I have it rated as the show. It's good.
Okay. Super Rider 108_MC has one for us. With the recent release of The Batman, yet another cinematic incarnation of The Dark Knight, a question came to mind. Who's a character you each personally don't mind seeing over and over live on through various interpretations without it having to feel tiring every time?
That's a good question. A lot of the superheroes.
Yeah, there are certain superheroes that are that
depends
way.
on the
Batman,
movie and the character.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's usually better to go
characters.
with a more, like a pulpier character like that, like Spider-Man, Batman. You can like explore them in more like an episodic kind of format over like a lot
and like
of different
everyone
movies.
knows like the mechanics. Everyone knows that there's like Aunt May and how the powers work and shit. And
Yeah,
there's the
they're very
Joker to the
basic.
Batman, and everyone kind of knows and is in on it already. It's kind of like James Bond too, like just
James
him
Bond's
always
the
being
same
around.
way.
John Kramer.
Yeah, those are the ones that come to my mind. Spider-Man, Batman, James Bond,
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, horror characters work.
Jason, Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Leatherface. I haven't seen the new Texas Chainsaw.
Apparently it's very bad. Apparently it's
really?
funny.
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm gonna have to check it out.
I should watch that.
Yeah, maybe tonight I'll watch it. Any more to add, Adam?
I don't know. The audience. Every movie breaks the fourth wall now, so yeah, I don't like
annoying.
What's weird, so it's weird answering this question because like even though there's characters that I would love to see like continue on, I still have a preference for like the original way that those characters are interpreted. So I like John Kramer is like Tobin Bell, Freddy Krueger is Robert Englund. So I don't know. It's difficult. I don't know how many properties I would love being like, oh, I'm totally fine with them just changing the character, because usually they just don't get it right. Usually there's always something kind of like weird about it.
They seem to do that a lot with superheroes though, and it usually works better. Is that just because like they're in a costume most of the movie, like they're in a mask, so it's not as like distracting, I guess?
I don't know. Well, I mean, if I really connect with something, then I usually don't find the later iterations to work better.
Sure, but like how many different actors have played Batman at this point, right? Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George
I'm
Clooney,
not offended
Christian
by
Bale,
Robert Pattinson Batman.
There's like 5, yeah.
If we're just gonna break it down to like the character alone and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So
You
I don't know.
Ben Affleck Batman.
Well, I forgot about him until this episode, honestly. I forgot it was even a thing, which is it's a statement in of itself.
Because he was supposed to direct like that solo Batman movie, like that space for that movie was for Affleck. So
yeah, I'm sure there's one I'm not thinking of, but Wilhelm, he screams a lot. He's in a bunch of movies.
All the different interpretations of Scar. I know you love those.
I mean, if you could probably do it fine, but they don't, and there's like no point. Jeremy Irons is still around. You could totally use him again, but whatever.
How about like Godzilla and King Kong? Those guys.
Yeah,
those
characters.
they're
Still
kind of
like not
characters.
so attached to those characters that it jumps out as an answer to me.
Yeah, attached to King Kong? Come on.
Let's say Ethan Hawke and Julie, what I forget her name from the Before trilogy.
Sure, that's a good one.
I can see him pop up as cameos
Okay.
in other Linklater films. I like seeing like extended universe weird things.
It's hard to make multiple movies like that are just dramas with characters. Because, that's more like real life. You're trying to mimic real life. Like comic book shit. Like, the same thing can happen over and over again. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just the structure. It's just the genre, Or even a horror movie. Like every horror movie, the same exact thing happens. The slasher movie, like the slasher chases the woman. That's every movie in the series of like Halloween. Yeah.
Okay. Got this one from Plasterman40. What director would you be scared to meet IRL because of how unstable they act?
Derek Savage.
Maybe stole my one.
Punch people.
Maybe
I met Uwe Boll.
Mel Gibson from a certain era.
At this point, Shane Carruth. He seems like off his fucking rocker.
Seems like a crazy person.
He seems like genuinely unwell.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Very shame. Yeah, it's actually like it's not like something that a lot of people are keeping up with. But like, if you look on his
I haven't really
his like Vimeo account, he'll be like just posting these like weird fucking. He'll like play a soundtrack to like some other like dramatic movie, and then like play it over like just footage of like his ex from Upstream Color, who now has a restraining order against him, and this like really just fucking like it's like, dude, this is unhinged. Like, you should probably not do this anymore.
I haven't been keeping up with it a lot.
Stop posting about her. Like this, it's some real fucking Elliot Rodger vibes going on right now. Like I feel sad about it. I love his movies. He's just absolutely blacklisted himself now, and I don't blame people for not wanting to work with him because holy shit. But Jesus, dude, like, get some help.
Yeah.
That was sad.
I'm sad about it.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with that much, but last I heard he was like harassing his girlfriend or something. That's the last I heard. Something like that.
Just very unhinged.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's a shame.
Okay, let's do this one from J.C. Murray. Going back to the religious themes we were talking about earlier. The Last Temptation of Christ is my second favourite film of all time. I mention that because it meant something to me as a Christian and is still powerful and meaningful to me as a former Christian. It is the best example, in my opinion, of the good and valuable things about Christianity and religion. My question is, do any of y'all have any good associations with religion? Is there anything that you took from a faith or belief that you held before or in learning about other religions, adopted a philosophy that rang true to you, and how you see the world? You were kind of saying the complete inverse earlier, but I'm curious what your answer would be there, Adam, because I don't have a background.
Well, so there are valuable aspects to religion, but in my opinion, the more you start to break those things down, the more you realize that religion doesn't exactly have like a monopoly on these concepts. So some people might argue certain things like morality. Other people might argue like, okay, even if you don't like take the Bible literally, there's still stories there's still valuable stories to take from within that about like morality and life learning lessons, etc. There's also the community aspect, which is like a really big thing. Like if you're going to church every Sunday, you're surrounded with other people that are a part of your group, especially, you're singing songs with them too. Like they've actually done like neurological studies in terms of how bonded people feel with each other when they're singing music with each other. But if you break it down, like it can provide like a good sense of structure to people. It can provide a good sense of belonging to people. I just don't think that necessarily needs to come from religion, and I've heard other people make the argument of like, oh, what, that doesn't exist outside of religion, but it really does. You have to find a community, really. If you have like a community of something that interests you, like the furry community is like a really good example of this. Like you can meme on it all you want, but like it does provide a great sense of community and like openness and just structure even. So there's a lot of things that you don't necessarily have to get from religion that are good things about religion. So yeah, I mean, perspective wise, I think that probably was my biggest takeaway, is just learning and thinking about things. But yeah, I guess just to finish off this little ramble, I find it interesting that a lot of these, almost like every major organized religion has these aspects within them, like those community aspects, those like singing aspects, those like essentially group meditation, close your eyes and hum, or like prayer or whatever. Like they're all different variations of all of these things where if you really think about them, you're essentially like putting your brain in like a more susceptible state. Like fasting is a big one for a lot of religions. It's like, oh, well, you deprive yourself of enough food, it changes your state of mind and makes you more open to these ideas. It makes you more open to like religious experiences, if that's what we would like, hallucinations or whatever, right? So I just find it very interesting, like all these different similarities and parallels across religions, and it makes sense in terms of like, yeah, they would have to have those things, otherwise they wouldn't be as popular. They wouldn't still be around today. So yeah, there's interesting and positive aspects, but I don't think it needs to come from religion. When I first stopped believing in God, there was a moment where I was like, I found prayer as a sort of like place of comfort. I found myself being like, oh, like I would have these paranoid thoughts when I was like 13 or something of like, oh no, there's going to be like a killer that jumps into my house or something. And so I pray to God before I went to sleep thinking, you know, please make sure there's no killer that's going to kill me tonight or whatever. And I would get like an immediate sense of comfort from doing that. And it's a very normal neurological response to that sort of thing, to believe in a higher power and have like trust and faith, or even just the meditation aspect of something like that, or even just saying things out loud to yourself. And one of the moments I remember when I stopped believing in that, I eventually just, I substituted. I did like a, you know, like a test. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pray to my pillow instead. And I said those exact same things. And what's weird is like, even though I didn't believe that I had a supernatural, omnipotent pillow, I still got those exact same feelings of like comfort through just, you know, the saying those things out loud, or the meditation aspect, or even just like, processing that information in a way was providing that exact same, you know, physical and emotional comfort. And I was like, okay, maybe these things don't necessarily need to come from religion. It's just a matter of society being built around it, and religion constantly insisting that it needs to exist because of those things, that people get confused, and it's difficult to immediately come up with solutions of how we still provide those things without necessarily religion needing to be involved. It's something that people have to like figure out. It's a process for sure.
Do you have any positive, good associations with religion, Ralph, that inform you today?
Do you? Yeah, I do. The sense of community. Yeah, I feel like that's a strong part of religion. Like you guys were saying, like, yeah, definitely like the cooperative aspect, and usually people getting together, and I don't know, usually charity work. It's usually like something I try to do, like church or whatever, stuff like that. That's usually good. That's a good thing that comes out of religion. Usually is charity, giving to people who don't have food or whatever. With Thanksgiving, you give canned food away. Stuff like that. I think that's a strong part. I don't get anything spiritually like out of, like, I'm not a very spiritual person. Like, to some degree, I guess everyone is, but yeah, that's very minor part of me. I'm very practical. But yeah, like I don't have a lot of like negative attachments with religion, really. Yeah, I just don't really believe in a lot of it. I haven't struggled with it really. Anything to add, Alex, to that? I don't like talking about religion. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I can't really give that kind of perspective like Adam can. Where you can kind of speak to the culture more. So obviously, you know, we're informed by the religion, the culture that came before us. So there's obviously a lot of it in our DNA.
We're all a product of our environments.
Exactly. So the world we live in is informed by the religions of the past, so it's silly to write off the historical significance of it or whatever, but as far as it affecting my day-to-day life, it never really has. So my view of the world has never really come from that kind of perspective, but
definitely.
Yeah,
well, that's a great one to end it on, because that sort of wraps things back up. That wraps things back up with the whole Jesus episode. So thank you for recommending those two movies, because I think that it was a really interesting thing to explore. Jesus. I love the whole unintended what's it called? Paired films. There's another word for this.
Like grouping them, or unofficial.
Yeah, I've never seen.
There's
Passion
an
of
easy
Christ,
word for that.
So that's cool. It's cool. I finally got to see that.
Yeah, and the fact they're both like controversial, they're both there's a fair amount linking them.
I probably wouldn't have watched it like otherwise, you know. It's not one I'm dying to see. I don't even think it was on my watch list, really.
Yeah,
The
it's definitely
Passion.
interesting.
The Passion, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of people call it that. It's
title.
crazy. All right, I guess it's time for a movie recommendation. I think it's my turn. I believe it's my turn. Well, so we're recording the next episode early, so I'm not going to do like a trilogy or anything. We're going to do one film. It's 2 hours and 5 minutes long, and it's a Speed Racer from the Kachowskis.
Nice, that's a
cool.
So well, last time it was my turn to recommend something. About halfway through the episode, we mentioned it. And I was like, "Oh, I should recommend that." And while we were recording the episode, I was searching over like Amazon and eBay, and there was no Blu-ray that would show up for me in time. So I ordered it then, and now it's here. So I get to do the Blu-ray. Beautiful. I guess you guys will have to probably download it somewhere, iTunes or something. But
yeah, it's out there.
What year is this movie? Let's see.
It's timeless. I can't even put a year to it.
Yeah, 2008. That sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've seen like tiny clips of it. My friend said he watched it on mushrooms and had a good time.
Okay.
And everybody wants us to talk about it, and it seems like kind of interesting. Oh, it's 2 hours and 15 minutes long, not 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
135, not 125.
Hype.
All right, and I guess I'll probably watch Turning Red before the next episode.
I'll see that.
I haven't seen Speed Racer since it came out. I saw it when it came out in theaters.
Yeah, I've only seen,
that was my first Wachowski movie, I think. I think even before The Matrix.
Wow. Oh, fun.
Maybe
cool.
I've seen The Matrix before. I think I saw The Matrix first, but on home video. It's at least my first like theater experience with a Wachowski movie.
Damn, cool.
Kachowski.
Yeah. Matrix came out when I was fucking 2 years old, so yeah, I didn't see that in the theater.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. It seems, who knows? I have no idea what to expect. All right, if you don't want to be spoiled for 2008's Speed Racer, directed by the Kachowskis, then watch it before this next episode comes out. They are released publicly every 2 weeks. You can listen to them early as they're edited. Going to Sardonicast.com, sign up for premium. Also, patreon.com/Sardonicast. Also, we got merch. Check the links in the description. Why don't you do that, maybe? All right. Thank you so much. Praise Shrek.
Praise Jesus.
Praise Shrek.
My Messiah is Shrek.
False prophet Shrek. We need that movie. Passion of the Shrek.
Oh, hell yeah. Anyway, bye-bye, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.